Hey everybody, I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to My Kind of Country on MKOCRadio.com. The Carter family is one of the most important families in all of country music. Without them, we wouldn't have so many of these great artists that we have today, and the influence that they have had still can be heard in all the recordings and so many great traditional country music artists today. And the gentleman I have with me on the show tonight is the grandson of Maybelle Carter, and he's the only son of Johnny Cash and June Carter. He is not only a talented performer in his own right, but he's also a fantastic producer, and he has a brand new album out. He's here with us to talk about it tonight, and it's my pleasure to welcome John Carter Cash to My Kind of Country. John, how are you tnite?
I'm doing very well. It's good talking to you today.
Well,
yeah, for sure, man.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Well, you've got this is a very large undertaking, and I understand it's taken some time to put this whole album together.
Well, I'm always working in a creative endeavor, and I produce music. I work with Loretta Lynn still, co-producing her music with Patsy Lynn Russell, her daughter, and then I also work with various artists on a regular basis, and I get a chance to work with some master musicians, and I, of course, have made my own music for years and years. Throughout these years, the past decade, I've been recording different sessions with master musicians, everybody from Tony Rice to Bob Moore, Gene Chrisman, Jerry Douglas, Sam Bush, just all across the board, a wonderful musician. Perhaps the day would end shorter than we thought, and then we'd continue on and record some of my music, or it was a focused thing for my own sessions. But one way or another, I finished an album after a period of time of my own music, and intend to continue to make my own music. But here, the 7th of September, my album released, and very, very excited. We Must Believe in Magic, and it's a conglomeration effort of some master musicians and myself in songwriting, and most of the stuff I either wrote by myself or with other songwriters.
Wow, that's fantastic. And you've got a pretty stellar lineup of some guest artists on this project too, right?
Yeah, John Cowan sings on there. Sarah Peasaw McGuffey sings on there. My wife, Anna Christina Cash. Native American artist Bill Miller is one of my best friends, and he's also performs on the album. So lots of different folks from different styles of music, and my music is very diverse, and I pay honor to everything from classic gospel songs to rock and roll on my record. I produce all kinds of music and different kinds of music, not only country, not only rock and roll, and just all across the board, jazz even. And so the influences, my own music, the influences on my own music are just as varied. And so there's all different kinds of music on my album, and it's just sort of always the way that it has been. This album actually is a little more focused in effort than my last record. I tend to go just wherever the heart leads.
Well, I know that your dad back in the days when he had his television show, he would expose other artists that weren't country. Bob Dylan comes to mind, and there was kind of like a melting pot of different types of music. So I'm sure that you probably heard a lot of different kinds of music as you were growing up and meeting a lot of different musicians too.
Oh, certainly, and yes, my father was open-minded. He would bring into his fold, everybody from Eric Clapton to a random fiddle player from New Orleans. You just didn't know who would be at the house when I was a young boy, and that's the kind of music that was around my house. And of course, I grew up though when I was a teenager. I listened to hard rock, and so I had influences from all over the place. And one of the major things that I was taught is there are no restrictions in music. Follow your heart. My dad sort of lived that creed. Of course, recording songs from rock and roll artists and everybody from Nine Inch Nails to Depeche Mode to Bill Monroe. You didn't know what he was going to record next.
Absolutely. Well, your new album is absolutely stellar. It's called We Must Believe in Magic, and it's available at johncartercash.com, and, of course, Amazon and iTunes and all the usual places that we get our wonderful music from. And you mentioned your wife, Anna Christina. I had her on the show a while back, and she's got some beautiful music out as well.
Oh, yeah, and Anna Christina Cash has Christmas album coming out actually very soon. That will it's full of standards, and there's one original thing on there that she and I wrote together, and it's also produced at the Cash Cabin Studio in Hendersonville, Tennessee, like most all the music that I do. And she is a wondrous vocalist and a beautiful singer and a visionary. And I'm always honored to have the chance to work with her.
Absolutely, and I think it's wonderful that you share that that bond with your spouse. You know, your mom and dad did that, and now you're able to do that. And that's music is such a big part of your life. It's wonderful you can share that bond.
Oh yeah, she fills my heart, man. You know, and then we got a little baby girl. I also, work regularly with my son Joseph Cash, who's 22, and Grace June is only 1 year old, and I have two middle children, Jack and Annabelle. So my quiver is full. I have a bounty of blessings around me with my children.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. That's really cool. Well, the title track, I'm hearing a little bit of kind of Irish influence in this song.
Mm. Yeah, actually, if you listen to the melody that's being played at the top, there are three instruments playing the same notes, and one is a fiddle and one is a penny whistle, which may be the reason that you're hearing the Irish. And then the third is actually my wife Anna Christina's voice, and she is singing the same notes as the high wail of the fiddle and the penny whistle. So it gives it that sort of a feel, but it's actually three different instruments playing the same note.
It's a neat sound. I really like it. And the Prayers of St. Regis. Tell me about that song.
Yeah, it's a story song, and it's one of my favorite things on the album. I like the depth of it. I like the how it paints a picture, and it's a beautiful arrangement. Actually, Tony Rice is playing the guitar on there, and string arrangements by Matt Combs with help from Chris Wilkinson and Dennis Crouch, and Tony Harrell actually is on the piano. So it was wonderful to work with Tony Rice, who doesn't record very much anymore. Actually recorded this quite a few years back, 6 or 7 years ago, and just had the chance to work with Tony. And what a blessing! He is a master of his craft.
Oh, that's great. You mentioned gospel music, and you certainly have some songs on here that are beautiful gospel music. One of the ones that's it's an all-time favorite song of mine was Charlie Rich's "Feel Like Going Home."
Oh yeah, and what a rarity. My favorite version, of course, is just Charlie at the piano. It's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But his original demo, it just floors me every time I hear it. I'm chilling right now thinking about it. But yeah, I love that song. I love it. John Cowan also does a beautiful version of that song.
Well, Charlie did that song on his last album. It was called Pictures and Paintings, and he had a choir in the background. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. That's one of my favorite albums, anyway.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a powerful recording. That one is also. But yeah, the song is it's epic. It's so beautiful.
And you certainly wrote and co-wrote quite a few of the songs on here. Tell me about a couple of things that kind of stand out for you. A couple of songs that just kind of you want to bring more attention to.
Well, actually, the song "Prayers of St. Regis" I co-wrote with Sean Camp. Now, Dragon Song I wrote when I was 21 years old, and I just actually made a short film around the music of Dragon Song, and it will be coming out soon. I'm actually working on it today, so it's very much in my mind. And then on the album also there's a song called Dungeon, and that brings me back to a time in my life of great desperation and sadness. There are songs of hope on there also, of course. Holy Train is sort of my own take on a traditional gospel theme. I wrote it with a few dear friends. Worked on the album also with Dave Dager and George Dager, and I worked with those guys quite a bit. My wife Anna Christina Cash is a master. She's on the album, of course. We talked about her, and then my friend Bill Miller and I wrote a song that means a lot to me on the album called "Brave Young Man," which is basically saying someday I'll be a brave young man. And I think about life going past me, and I realize that youth and love and spirit is all in the way I look at this world.
That's for sure. Time certainly does fly too. It's amazing how much how fast the years seem to go.
Oh yeah. The time goes by, but I'm grateful for everything, and I'm grateful for every step of the way. And this album is, it's a snapshot of my life, a certain period, and it's the cover of the album, of course, has it's a painting by Roberto Parada, and it shows all the different folks that are on the album, the different people that were a part of the creation of the album. Portrait artist Roberto Parada painted the album cover, and each face individually. You can see the character of each person, and it's a very unique work of art.
I was glad to see that. A lot of times, in this world of digital downloads and everything, folks a lot of times don't pay attention to album covers. And this, to me, when you see this, it really tells you this is a collection of songs that is worthy of having the entire album. And albums like this, I always encourage my listeners to get the whole album and listen to it in its entirety, because it takes you on kind of a musical journey. And I think that's probably what you've tried to accomplish with this project.
Oh yeah, it has been a musical journey. It certainly has, and I love an album that you can pick up, you can open up and look at it, and you sort of gives you it takes you on a trip. And my album, if you open it up on the inside, there's lots of different things from my life, little different artifacts, a photograph, a piece of furniture of mine, and there's lots of mystery in there. And there's different levels to me of music and understanding and depth and whatnot. And so as you peel away, you find out more.
Absolutely. One more song I wanted to ask you about. This is a song that you wrote with your dad called "Poor Boy and the Captain's Daughter."
Yeah. A record came out not too long ago called "Forever Words," and actually. This is my derivative of a work that my father wrote when he was young, a poem called "The Captain's Daughter." There is another derivative of that poem that was finished by R.L. Castleman and sung by Alison Krauss on the album "Forever Words." So this is my version of it, which is a duet with myself and Sarah Peasall. The melody is different from Alison Krauss's version, and they're both derivative works of my father's original poem. So it's not something I sat down and wrote with him. It's something that I found years after he passed away.
Oh, wow.
And in turn, I gave it to Allison, and in turn, I also did a derivative myself.
That's another fantastic album. There was an album several years ago about Hank Williams' Lost Notebooks, where they had done that, where they'd taken songs and finished them and released them. And I thought the Johnny Cash one, that was just a stellar project as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. We're still making music on that, actually. Or I'm done making music, but there may be more music released.
Oh, that's great. That's good to hear. Well, you also have a new book out here shortly as well, right?
I do have a cookbook. The Cash and Carter Family Cookbook is coming out here really soon, and it's recipes of my family and of my own creation, things that my father actually hand wrote. There's a couple of recipes that are in there, and anyway, it was quite a journey to go through the family recipes and whatnot. But I cook every day of my life. Typically, I'm the short order cook for the family. And I also make everything from cheese souffle to French-style dishes to just good old Southern fried foods. And so all of that is in the cookbook, the Cash and Carter Family Cookbook.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's you can order that, folks, at johncartercash.com, and we'll have that information on our Facebook page as well. And, John, I wanted to talk just a little bit more about your producing side. The album that you did with Loretta Lynn, Full Circle, is absolutely beautiful. And I'm curious, as a producer, when you go into the studio and work with an artist like this who has done, literally hundreds of albums, what is the approach that you want to use to, present something that's new and fresh for this artist?
I stand back and let Loretta's brilliance and beauty be what it is, and I try not to intercede too much, only if I'm needed. Sometimes, we'll have multiple takes or whatnot, and we'll go back and edit. But there's always, the beauty and the brilliance of Loretta as the artist that stands out, and so I never want to hinder that or try to say, it needs to be this way. And I always try to be open-minded and listen to the artist first. And so the work that was created, for Full Circle and for the new upcoming album, Wouldn't It Be Great, was from the heart. It truly was. It was, inspired by Loretta, and it was her drive that made it happen.
Oh, that's great. I love that new song. We've been playing that on the show. It's absolutely beautiful. And you know, the same thing holds true with your dad's last few albums. You know, even though he was in failing health and obviously was not singing as he used to sing, but I'll tell you what, some of the emotion that is wrought out in these albums is some of the best music I've heard. And you also touched with a beautiful version of "Hurt" on your album too.
Thank you. Yes, I have a history of that song, and you know, I know what it feels like to be desperate, and feel alone, and at a loss, and Hurt connects with that. So it is an homage to my father's version. However, it means something to me on a personal level, independently of that.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about music and songs when they touch you on their own level, whether it be in a bad way or good way. It's still emotion, and it certainly shows through in this music.
Thank you very much. It's all a matter of the heart.
Well, you have a festival coming up here on the 14th. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm playing at the Americana Festival in Nashville, and I have a late night show past the 11 o'clock hour at the City Winery on Friday the 14th. Lucky 14, Friday the 14th at the City Winery in Nashville, as part of the Americana Music Festival, and the celebration also of the release of my album and of the upcoming release of the short film Dragon Song.
Oh, wow. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm in editing on it actually today on the short film Dragon Song, and it's coming together. It is inspired by the music of the song Dragon Song, which is on my album, but it is an independent version of the song that actually appears in the film. So we'll see. It's going to be just a little bit before the film is released, but there will be a trailer hitting here this week that will be that will show the images from the film and some of the music and the folks that are in.
Well, that's great. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Well, I certainly, my hat's off to you for the wonderful music that you have produced, are continuing to produce and to perform. All the wonderful awards that you have won are certainly well deserved. And you're an author. You've done so many things, and family man. And I applaud you for carrying on that tradition of the Carter family and the Cash family. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you for having me on, and I'd love to be on your show again. Thank you.
Well, I would love to have you anytime. And folks, again, please go to johncartercash.com. Pick up the new album, We Must Believe in Magic, and also the new cookbook that is, you can pre-order that right now, the Cash and Carter Family Cookbook. And go see John Carter Cash when you have a chance. Thank you so much for taking time to be on My Kind of Country. It's been an honor talking with you.